sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimite nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimitimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo.
Hello and welcome everybody to another Wednesday night on Restore Christendom. I am Tom,
And I'm Emily.
and tonight we are joined by Stacks from StacksFarmstead. Say hello to everybody, Stacks. Oh, couldn't hear
you're
you.
muted.
Are you muted?
Did I get muted?
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
nope, there you go.
are.
You're right
Yeah.
Oh,
Now I'm screwing up.
here.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody who might not know who you are and where they can find you, stuff like that.
my name's Jason. We got a small little YouTube channel on we try to do a couple different things, but Stacks Farmstead, and I'm on X, which is a little more lively than YouTube. So we're we're gonna have a bunch of new content coming up. So if you're interested, go hit the subscribe button. Quit just watching. Hit the button.
Yeah.
Go give him
subscribe.
a subscribe.
Yeah. Give him a subscribe, guys. Come on.
You don't have to go find him. He'll pop up in your feed.
Oh.
Good
So-
evening, everybody. Hello. I see all these chats rolling through.
Yeah. Everybody's already in there chatting.
Nice. All right.
So how you been, bud? It's been a little while since we've had you on.
Good. The schedule's been really crazy. I got a lot of night work recently for whatever reason. So it's been kind of tough, a little bit of an adjustment, but we've been doing pretty good. Doing with the weather breaking, a lot more advances up on the property, getting more stuff done, new additions to it. Things have been good.
I saw today that you guys went and picked up a goat.
Yeah.
You got a
Yep.
goat now.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
exciting.
It's the first goat.
Yeah.
I'm expecting chaos, because I really don't know what else to expect. But we have to get more because they're kind of pack animals.
They are.
So
Yeah.
you have to get more. I don't. Otherwise, I don't. I could just imagine if I only had one, and that one would be trying to get out way more than if it didn't have another goat.
Somebody
think-
keep the company. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got goat pictures here. All right.
Yeah, yeah. That's how we got it there. Believe it or not, in the back of a Jeep.
Yeah. I told you a story about my buddies. We transported his house in the back of my '92 Subaru Legacy. So I mean, it happens. It's doable.
I mean, I guess now, even with you saying that, it's more common than I thought it was, because I was like, are these people even going to give it to us, considering it's not going in like some kind of transfer thing? And they're like, oh, no, we put it in the back of our Explorer all the time. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Growing up in East Texas, it was not uncommon to see a Mexican person with a goat in the back seat of a Camry. You
Yeah.
know, it's just sometimes that's how you got to move the goat around.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I will say, warning. My buddy had two of the same kind of goats. And they were super friendly goats. They were very playful. Some goats can be very mean.
Yeah.
His were of this breed were actually really friendly and like to play a lot. But I'd say 3 days a week he was getting called to shop because his goats were out roaming around the neighborhood.
You know what? It crossed my mind. And there was a situation we actually have on film with one. I had 3 turkeys at one point, and when we first got them, a coyote tried to drag one away, and I thought it actually got away with it. Turns out it was down there running on the road. I didn't know it got away from the coyote, and the township police pull up in the truck, like my road's not easy to get up to, like a regular car is gonna bottom out on the way up. So I mean, like this, I know they're coming up for a reason that I hope it's not bad. And he's like, "Hey, Jace, did you lose a turkey?" And I'm like, "How the fuck would you?" Yeah, yeah, I lost it. What,
Okay, go
where,
ahead.
why? They took it to the police station. There was a rookie cop chasing this turkey, 20-pound turkey, chasing this turkey around on the street down below from where we are. I can't see, I would have helped, but I
You're
can't
not gonna
see.
yeah,
Uh, all I seen was a trail of feathers from the coyote trying to drag it all the way down the hill. I thought for sure it was a goner, but
yeah.
he's laughing at me and he's like, the rookie, this dude, one of the younger guys, is they made him chase it, and they chased it. I have pictures of it. It's on YouTube.
That's
They
awesome.
chased it, snaggled it, put it in the back of a cop car, and then drove it down to the police station. It was in a holding cell. That's where we went and picked it up at. So
Turkey in a holding cell. That's
I
awesome.
swear I got pictures.
That's
So
hilarious.
when you said that, I was thinking the goat already has a collar. I think I'm actually you might be right because I think I might go and get like a dog collar with the ID tag just
Mhm.
in
Oh, yeah,
case something
just in
because
case.
yeah, chances are if it goes down and somebody does grab it, at least they'll know who to call.
Right,
Yeah.
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 They'll know where to take it back to.
Yeah.
Those of you listening in the comments section, can you tell me is everybody's levels good? I'm still trying to master the
Where the guest needs to be versus
yeah,
us.
because with this program, it's one thing I do have to do with the guests. I have to do all the levels from my board, and it always sounds great to me. And then I go rewatch it, and somebody's way too low. So, uh, but anyway, somebody just pop that in the comments for me and let me know all the levels are good. Thanks.
So aside from the new goat, I did notice that you're hatching chickens. You've got chickens in incubators. You got
Yeah.
another round of them going?
Yeah. Well, we at one point we had about 30 birds, and then we had a problem with a hawk, and
Mm.
we didn't try to ramp it up. And I'm thinking now we're gonna try to go for 100 birds and really try to bump up the whole sales of products from the farm because not only will the income be better, but like just having the LLC and the business aspect of it, it would be better to start showing more profit before they start really
Wondering.
looking at you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But we kind of have a plan. I'm thinking 100 birds, you get about 100 eggs a day.
Mhm.
Once they all start laying, give or take. Um, and I have a pop-up trailer that we were gifted.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
sure you know. I'm sure you know what that is. Like the
Yep.
Yep.
roof pops up. Uh, and we're gonna turn that into sort of like a roadside.
Garden stand.
Um, yeah, yeah, and then
Ah,
that way we can move it around too. Like so, it'll
yeah.
sit in front of the house out on the road. It's a busier road where that is. But I was thinking, I could maybe drive it into like the city because
Mhm.
and charge them double.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Oh yeah.
make a deal with like the Ace Hardware or, some company that has a decent sized parking lot. Be like, hey, let me have that spot over there. Like, I'll give you a
Yeah,
couple dozen eggs
I don't
for
know,
it or
man.
pay you some
People
cash for it.
people can have hot dog and pretzel stands on the in the city. Why can't you have a egg stand
Yeah, that's
selling
true.
eggs?
That's true.
just around here are because it's rural where I'm at. But
Mhm.
like if it's a farm stand, they don't care. Like, if it's your stuff, you don't have to pay any kind of permit or anything.
Awesome.
You can just set up somewhere. As long as it's not a problem for, like, the community or whatever in some way, you're not blocking somebody's driveway. You can just basically set up for wherever. I looked up the codes
Ordinances.
for it.
Nice.
Uh,
Smart.
but and what I'm trying to do too is, because we homeschool the kids,
Mhm.
and my
Awesome.
son is in an entrepreneurial class. He's only 5, but, I'm trying to teach him.
Yeah.
So I figure if I can get him to man it with my wife, then, it
That
would
can count
be
towards school credits.
yeah, the schools out
Well,
here don't
yeah, they don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, but on the days on the days that the child isn't gonna wanna go do the job, like we don't wanna go do the job some days, it's a it's good for kids to have responsibility like that, to have that sense of, um like a genuine sense of ownership. Like it is, it's something that helps out the family. It's a providing something to the community. So, maybe I don't want to go feed the chickens today, but do I want to have 40,
Yeah.
$50 from chicken eggs or do I want to not go, it gives them at a young age the ideas of responsibility and commitments and, requirements of a person to have things.
Yeah, also, like entrepreneurship is not something that anybody's taught nowadays. Like,
No.
most kids don't even realize that's an option anymore. You know,
Yeah,
and that
that's
used to
true.
be the American spirit. That used to be the American thing. Like you'd find something and you do. You open your own shop. You open your own business. You start a farm. You know. And
Use
now
dad's
now the
lawnmower and mow everybody's lawns for the
yeah, and it
summer.
seems
It's
like
a big
now the
one. That's a
yeah,
big one.
but it seems
Yep.
like
The
now the goal.
lawnmower. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, Tom.
Oh no, I was just saying, it seems like now the goal that they program into these kids is you
College.
now go and work for somebody else. The dream is to get this high profile job or this job title working for somebody else, and it's like and you're looked down upon for owning a gas station or a convenience store or whatever, and it's like, man, that's a lot of freedom and a lot of income that you don't have working for this big corporation in an office sitting in a cubicle all day with this title, you know.
Dude, dude, I don't, so, like, I went through the public school system and through, Catholic school, and if they would teach kids more along the lines of entrepreneurship and, like, when it came to math, okay, some of this math that they have now is not applicable. It would be great
Mhm.
to know, but
There's no
understanding
real
tax
world
code,
applications. Yeah.
like tax code and accounting and things like that in the place of some of that because they're both, they can go hand in hand.
Mhm.
Um, you could create small businesses everywhere if you
Yeah,
taught kids this stuff. Um, I'll give a quick plug if you don't mind to the place, but
yeah,
Classical Learner is he's
Heard a lot of good stuff.
dude, I mean, he's a cool dude. He's on X. He does like TikTok. He's getting he's getting a pretty big following, but him and his wife and another person are the ones that do it. And he focuses a lot on entrepreneurship. And I can't agree more. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't want my kids to just be another cog in the wheel. I don't want
Yeah,
them
no.
to, go to the cubicle or go work to make somebody else some
The
money.
time
nope,
card. Yeah.
And the main
yeah,
thing is what I'm building, right? Like, because what I'm building with the property and the farm is to be able to give it to them. Like, so, if they have that mindset and then they have this asset to work with, then
Mhm.
take off running. You know what I mean? Whatever it is you want to do is what I want to do for them.
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's true. Like, I mean, most people don't realize all you got to do, go out at 18 years old and buy yourself an old beat up U-Haul box truck and put an ad on the internet. I'll move a moving company. I'll move your stuff. Or go out and buy a pressure washer and a pickup truck. You know what I mean? Pressure washing driveways and siding. Um, there's money to be made there,
If you're
and
willing to work, yeah.
yeah, there's plenty of money to be made there, and then there's much more freedom, and just joy of doing your own thing, and you don't answer to anybody, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously you always answer to somebody. You got customers. You have customers, you answer to customers, but you're not punching a time clock and getting talked down to by a boss every day, or
Right. If you have something coming up next Wednesday, you don't have to ask somebody permission to not be there that
you
day.
just
You
don't
can
schedule
just
appointments that
yeah, you
day.
just don't schedule appointments that
Yeah.
day. Um,
Or
Yeah.
like you said, start a farm and teach your kids how to run it. There's a million things you can do.
Yeah, the responsibility's still there, it just shifts onto you rather than somebody else telling you what to do. But I
mhm.
mean, I if I would have known any of this stuff earlier, things would be a lot different. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be a lot different. Especially like, in the system now, the way things work. So even whenever you have like if you're just a 9 to 5, they want to take 40%, don't they?
Yep.
Yep.
Like off the top, you don't even get a choice, right?
Nope.
Uh But if you have your own thing and you're running an LLC and you could do a lot of different things to where you can actually keep that money. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of
Yep.
different write-offs, you can buy more assets. That's what I mean about even just knowing the tax code. It's why the rich stay rich. It's why
Mhm.
they don't pay taxes because it's the tax code is written that way. You're not stealing anything and you're not doing anything quote unquote wrong. It's just that's the way it's made. But like people ain't taught this. They're just taught to be how much can I make a year working for this company or corporation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't down it too much. For some people that does work. There's a certain amount of people that need to do
Absolutely.
that to keep society working.
Yep.
And that is a route that I didn't take a corporate job or anything like that. I mean, I took a trade job, um, which turned into a corporate job 20 something years later.
You grew into it though.
Yeah,
It's not that you
yeah,
sought that out to begin with.
but there, and honestly, I'll be honest with you. I had the opportunity. I could have started my own business as a technician fixing cars. I just never had the balls to do it. You know what I mean? I just
That is the biggest thing. It's a big fucking risk, man. It really
it is a
is.
huge
Like,
risk. And I was too comfortable in life where I was at to take that leap, and I sometimes regret it, and other times I'm like, you know what, I'm
Yeah,
doing pretty good,
it
so I
worked
can't
out.
complain too much. But it should be an option for more people, though. More people should know it's an option. You know what I mean?
So
And
I wanted to make just to clarify,
yeah,
'cause I realized what I said could have been taken like a little bit derogatory. Like, it's not a bad thing to be the 9 to 5 guy. It's
right.
really
No,
not. Uh, I'm just saying that
It's not
we're
for
not
everybody.
taught that there's another option that's viable, that's good,
yep.
and that, it's doable. Like, you just have to, like, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, like, just putting a lot of money up in the first place to get it started is a little crazy, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And so I get the whole, it's, do I jump out the window on this? Or, I know I don't have to if I don't do that. And I mean, it's all risk reward. So, I mean, but what I meant to say is that, like, I still do 9 to 5, but I also do this as well
yeah,
because, like, it's a balance, like, what I'm trying to do is take the 9 to 5 earnings and put that together with what I'm trying to do with a side business and leave something for my kids to build from.
yeah,
That's my whole thing. So, like, I don't, for whatever it's worth, it wasn't meant to sound like
yeah.
you're a sucker for doing your nine
Yeah,
to
no,
five.
no.
Uh,
I know exactly what you're saying
it,
because, but yeah, like it should be more of an option. People should know it's more of an option. And then also, to be completely honest, if you're going to be successful at that 9 to 5, you got to go above and beyond. And at that point, then you have enough drive. If you have the drive to survive, to excel in a 9 to 5, then you also have the capability of being an
doing
entrepreneur.
something else. Yeah.
And you should know, people should be aware that that is an option.
Honestly, this is not an exaggeration. My expectation is about anywhere between 12 and 16 hours of work a day between what I have to do to earn a regular check. And I'll tell you the truth, like, because I think you guys know I told you before, but I'm in the electrical union and I have to keep that job because of my daughter. She's got a heart
Mhm.
condition. So, like, it's the only way that I can be able to afford, she had a heart transplant basically, like, they had to go and rework the heart. So, like, if it wasn't for that, I can't even imagine what the bills would have looked like.
Yeah.
So I have to do what I have to do on that end. It brings in good money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not bad. But then to create this
Mm-hmm.
for them whenever I'm gone, it takes another how many hours to make sure it all stays afloat. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's not for everybody is what I'm saying, like, it's not
Right.
like, "Hey, I started this business and fucking we're great now." You know what
Anybody
I
can
mean?
do
It
it.
takes a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of fucking it's scary and, like, and a ton of work, and
Yep.
that's why everybody just doesn't wanna do it.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's very scary. It's a whole lot of work, and it's a gamble. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
definitely a gamble.
One thing I will say though is that, and if you I seen this kind of stuff coming. I kind of have this pattern recognition thing that people think I'm fucking crazy or something, but
I
uh
got it too,
the
buddy.
I told people years ago because I started doing this in 2020, but I planned it years before that.
Yep.
And I started saying, like, healthy food is going to be sought after. Like, you're going to be able to buy food, but it's going to be junk. Like, buying good food is going to be at a premium. And if you're the guy or person that can facilitate that,
Provide the good food. Yeah.
they're gonna line up, like, and they're
Yep.
gonna line the fuck up, like, I mean, and, like, I can't keep eggs, like, I just selling them to the neighbors, you
Right.
know? So, I mean, and once we scale up, it'll be the same thing, and once we move around, uh, it'll be all I'm saying is that, like, the demand is gonna be there far more as days and years and, whatever months go by.
Yep.
It's just gonna continue to grow.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm firm in that belief right now is because look at the political, like Maha, right? Like, Kennedy is as weird and as fake as some all that may or may not be. The people are there, believe it. So those are the buyers. Those are the
Yeah.
people that want to buy it,
Yeah.
whether the political institutions are selling a dream or not. Uh, they're there. The buyers are there. The people want it. You just got to provide it, and you'll be able to do good.
Oh, we got a question from the Haram Life. Stacks, I just got 7 more chickens. How can I deal with these hawks without killing them?
So, I mean, really, if you want it to end, they gotta die. But the only other way is like they make these nets, and there's
Oh, yeah,
also,
they
believe it or not,
decoy nets.
there's yeah. I mean, but if you want them to free range, that turns into a thing. There's also you can you see people where they make their grazing structures and they drag them along, they move them around. It'll keep them protected. But a good rooster will fuck that hawk up. Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
That's true.
that's how mine got dealt with. Uh, that was amazing. I seen it. I was like, "This is fucking nuts." Like, I can't believe like it was chaos. Like, there's just feathers, and I'm like, what the," and then but he got him. And I was like, "This is fucking." I got a picture of him. You may or may not have seen it, but like I'm holding it, and it was
Yeah.
dying as I was holding
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're mean, dude. Like that's not an easy feat. Like like if you've ever seen their claws, they're about that long, and they're razor sharp. They're like giant curved spiked needles.
Yeah.
But the point is that they're very much like because I've learned this just from seeing it. Um, if they once they find a food source, they keep coming back until it's gone.
Yeah, that's true.
So the only way to avert it is to remove the food source, make it too hard for it to get, or get rid of the hawks. And for whatever it's worth, a lot of hawks, depending on where you are protected. And some of them
Mhm.
are tagged by, like the preserves, like what the wildlife preserve,
DNR,
whoever
yeah.
they are. Depending on where you are, they may be more protected. Depending on where you are, they may not be protected at all.
Yeah,
So if
he's in
you do
Georgia.
happen to down one and they see that it's not moving anymore, have a story. You know what I mean? Like,
My cat
I
caught it.
mean, yeah, because that's a thing. But I mean, those are really the only options. And I'm telling you that that's from a lived experience that those are the options because that's how it
Yeah.
happened for me.
Yeah, roosters are no joke, man. They will do anything to protect those chickens. They
Yeah.
they they don't care. They'll run in the battle and give up their own life in a second to protect those chickens.
It's
And
what
they
they
are,
do, man. It's
yeah,
what they do. It's like, any good guy does the same thing. It's a
yeah.
male thing, dude. Like, there's a threat, you're running in. The thought ain't, it shouldn't be anyway for most guys. The thought ain't about you. It's about stopping the threat. Like, you don't even care
Mhm.
if as long as you stop the threat. And a good rooster does that.
Yeah, so maybe you gotta get a rooster reef.
A good rooster, because some
A good
roosters
roo
are
Yeah,
fucking lazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Some of them, they just wanna spur you. Um,
Yeah.
speaking of the food, how do we feel about the, possibility of mRNA vegetables, like tomatoes and lettuce, not only, like, in our freaking, meats now, on top of all the other, like, hormones and antibiotics and everything else they give to these factory farm animals, now they're, like, wanting to go after the fruits and vegetables. Aside from all the pesticides they use and the waxy seals and everything else done to preserve, to transport, so that way we can have year-round watermelon. Uh,
Y y y There's 2 schools of thought for that, for, like, for the way I think of stuff like this, right? So, first of all, we eat better now than kings did.
oh, yeah.
You can walk into any Walmart or any convenience store anywhere and get fruit completely out of season in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there's an argument there about how bodies actually have started to react to that because your bodies are seasonal. They can pick up, like you're down in the winter, right? You don't have as much energy and you don't feel like going out and doing stuff. And now here's this fruit that you would only get in another time, right?
Mhm.
So there's an argument there for as far as like whether or not you should be eating it. But secondarily, the idea that we can and that we do is that um, you are what you eat, right? So like, what are you eating? Um, I don't know what the long term effects of modifying the food actually is. Or maybe we do because there's a lot of illnesses that people don't know. Cancer just came out of nowhere. Lymphoma just happened, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I've said before is so there's genetically modified corn, and if you see what herbicide like Roundup, what they use on an industrial scale is Roundup times a million. That thing, it kills everything. Everything on the ground is
Everything.
completely dead. Everything is dead. There's no worms, there's no insects, there's nothing left. And if you look
Nothing.
at what
Rodents
happens
too,
to
yeah,
the
the rodents and all, yeah.
everything
Every
dies. And then it runs off into the rainwater. It's a terrible thing. But it kills everything on a cellular level. It's the reason why when they spray it, everything looks so crazy. It's because it's not just killing it, it's killing it on a cellular level. Now, the only thing that's left is this modified corn or whatever it
Mhm.
is that they have there. And it's still sprayed with it, so it's still on there.
Yeah.
The thing that killed everything is still on it, except for this. And then you eat that.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying about, I don't know that we know, but I have guesses on what it is that it can do. Now, there's interesting things that also happen because these big corporations that make the poison also have stock in a lot of things that are like treatments
Treatment.
for stuff. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And there's a lot of theories about whether or not they're creating a customer base on purpose. Um,
Yeah.
it's not if you my whole thought is that none of it's extremely difficult without it being directly handed to you to be completely self-sufficient. Like it would be really hard to just be able to go out and grab a steak
Mhm.
and be like, it's not something that is just like boom, there it is. Um, but you could start, you know what I mean? Like you could try to start separating yourself from that on some level. I don't care if it's a tomato plant in a bucket. You know what I mean? At least you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to the store and I was explaining before that, we're working the night shift because we're at a Walmart. These union contractors are getting Walmarts now, and I don't know how some people don't know this, but some of them don't because it came up. There's meat sitting out in these open freezers, and the one guy actually said to me, "I don't know how they do this. I don't know how they keep this meat out here like this." And I'm like, "It's packed full of preservatives, dude. Like, it's the reason why it doesn't go bad because if you cook bread, it'll get moldy and go stale in 2 or 3 days because it's actual bread. And without all the preservatives, you're looking at something different than actual bread.
Yeah.
And how much of them preservatives can you ingest before there's some kind of
Or
problem? I
your
mean, that's the
burger,
question. That's the
you know,
question.
Yeah.
That's
or
the question. I mean, when you see all these crazy diseases pop up and people don't have explanations for,
is it
maybe
because of what we are, what we eat situations?
Yeah, I mean, like,
exactly.
kind of back to what you said earlier. You have companies like Johnson and Johnson that make food with horrible dyes and chemicals and preservatives and stuff that's banned in most other countries, and they also sell medicine in this country. You have companies like Bayer who make pesticides and herbicides, and then they also sell medicine in this country. And yeah, they're poisoning you and then trying to sell you the antidote. Essentially, problem is they don't have the cure. They're just, you know what I mean. They'll sell you stuff to ease the pain that they caused, but
Yeah.
that's about all they can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that you can choose to participate or not.
Yeah.
That's the other part. However, if you choose to not participate,
You
you're
have to
looking at
choose to work.
12 to 16-hour days, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you're gonna bust your ass. You're gonna be hurt. My back hurts all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's not something that's easy, but and I'm not even like on that level where I could say that I'm completely self-sufficient. We still have to go to the store and we still have to participate on some level, but because I'm not a millionaire. I can't buy my way
Right.
out of it, but I can
Yeah.
I can slowly work my way out of it. And the actual hope is that by the time I put in enough work, that I'll be able to hand it down to my kids with a way better start than me, and maybe they'll have a better shot at being able to be even more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
We'll all learn together, and we'll be able to remove ourselves from the potentially poisoned food.
Yeah,
Some
there are other options too. Like you can, at least in our area, and I'm sure in your area too. We can save up a decent amount of money. Take a little time, save up some money, and go out and buy half a cow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go to a local farm. There's plenty of local farms on here. I'm sure they're around you that have cows, and buy
Yep.
half cow, and
Yep.
put it in the freeze. And in the months it takes you to eat that half a cow, you start saving a little more each week or whatever. And then when that's gone, you buy another half a cow, and now
And that's
you're eating.
exactly the demand that I was talking about, right?
Yeah,
Like that school of thought is the exact demand that I was talking about that's gonna be more and more prevalent as time goes on. More and more
absolutely.
people are waking up to it. It's just they don't have the viable options to go outside of the stores right now, but they're looking for them. I'm telling you, they're looking for them.
Yeah, we
I
have
mean,
more and more.
I see a lot of places, a lot of farmers. There's actually a place they can't keep the meat in stock. Like we tried to
Mhm.
go there, that's not far from here.
Always
There's
sold
people that
out.
pay in advance. The
Yeah.
Yeah.
coolers are always empty. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, and they're constantly slaughtering, but it's because people are looking for more options.
Yeah, there's more and more places around here of farmers that are just selling their meat to the public now instead of sending them off and like they used to because they get more money for it and there's much more demand than there ever used to be. And honestly you're getting better meat at around the same or even a little less price by buying it and like just going to a farmer and buying a half cow or a quarter. You
Yeah.
don't have to buy half. You can buy a quarter. You can buy a whole cow if you got that much freezer room. But like
Yeah.
it's hundreds of pounds of meat.
So the thing is people are creatures of habit, right? So
Yep.
like your habits and most people's habits, just like mine, is that you go to the store to get what you need, right? You don't really try to I mean, because who has the time if you're not right there in it to know what farmer to go to for this and when? It takes effort, and that's the work that I'm talking about. Like, if you there's, the work will set you free. I believe that's biblical, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so, like, that's what I mean. Like, if the way I look at it is like there's some people refer to it as the beast system. I think that's an accurate representation, but either way, there's a system in place, and you
Yeah.
can choose to participate in it or not. And you can choose to participate it on whatever level you want or not. It's just up to how much you want to do personally to remove yourself from it. That's up to you. I
That's
mean,
absolutely correct.
there's people that will tell you that they don't want to do it. Well, the system's for you then. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
That's
that's what
fine.
it's there for.
Nobody's gonna force you to do
And
it, but
also
don't make me feel bad for not wanting to.
Also, the main problem I think most people have in their head, the big misconception is you have to do it all at once. Like if I can't afford to go out and buy a half a cow and all this produce from the guy locally and all this, then there's no point in doing it. It's like, no, you don't have to do it all at once. You can just start by going out and buying this farmer's corn because you know it's not GMO or pesticide. You know what I mean? And you can start by going and buying like a couple steaks from this farmer here and there. You don't have to do it all at once. Little changes, incremental changes lead to big changes.
Yep.
Build community too, right? Like, I mean, like, if would you know the guy selling the steaks if you weren't going to buy them, right?
No, yeah, yeah, no, and he's right down the road from us. But yeah, if I wasn't going to buy meat from him, I'd never know who he was.
The
Right,
main reason I started growing pumpkins was because I got sick of freaking paying 12, 20, $30 a dang pumpkin for Halloween. And I started thinking about all the babies in the neighborhood. That's freaking $10, $15 a head that these parents are spending. Let me just grow these dang pumpkins and just give them to the babies. I don't have to do nothing for it. I just put seeds in the ground and I just saved the whole neighborhood $300.
and mindset that I think if more people adopted, the world would slowly become a better place.
It
Like, I
would.
mean, it sounds
Absolutely.
simple, but it's true. Like, you know how many people and I start to think that this is generational, but, like, boomers, they, like, worship money. I
Yeah,
mean, not all of them. I don't wanna say this in a this is if you're a
Broad
boomer
stroke.
listening to
Yeah.
this, I'm not talking about you. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? But
you're not
or
the
ju
or
one.
maybe I am. Who knows?
if I mean, like, they just it's just their thing. Like, they just money is top tier to a lot of these
Pollution.
people, and that's
money,
not
money and
if you
convenience is their god. It's
yeah.
they're the ones that decided everybody had to get everything from a supermarket or grocery store, something at a convenience store down the street. It's
They're the ones who left the family farmsteads.
Yeah, money and convenience is their god for sure.
To the ones that are pulling their hair out if they have any left right now because of the 401ks. And,
Yeah,
like, that's the system that you're participating in that you really don't have any control over, and
None.
that's the worst part is that you don't get to control what they do to process that food. You don't get to control how they ship it, where it comes from, how much you
Yep.
pay for it. You don't get to control any of that, and
None of it.
even the money, you don't get to control how much they get to print that dilutes the money that you think is so valuable right now. Again, it's the system. It's the system that you can either participate in or not. But I mean, what I'm saying is that it's like when you give, you were talking about pumpkins. I mean, you could do that with anything. When you
Mhm.
give that to somebody, there's at least the way I look at it, and I know a lot of other people can too, is that it's a different scenario than when you sell somebody something, right? Like
mhm,
that, a lot of people won't mind buying it from you, but when you go, hey, can you use a pumpkin?
Come
Here,
get
here's a
it.
pumpkin.
Yeah. Yeah.
It creates a different dynamic
Right. Yeah, yeah,
between
yeah.
and that's what I mean about the community building.
Yep. It's almost biblical, right? Like once we have what we need, the intention is that anything extra we share with others so that way their needs are met. So that
yes,
way they can then
almsgiving. Yeah,
right. Well, then if they're stressing about, how am I going to afford tomatoes this summer because my kid really likes tomatoes. If the neighbor grows tomatoes and the little kid just wanders over there and gets a handful of tomatoes every day, like there goes your tomato bill, there goes your stress, and the child's super happy, and eventually maybe they'll start growing their own tomatoes type of stuff. Um, but the back to bashing the boomers. They didn't do any of that. They didn't encourage their Gen X children to do any of that. And even as grandparents, they don't encourage their millennial or Gen Alpha, Gen Z, any of those. They don't encourage anyone to do anything for themselves because they never took the time to do it for themselves. So they don't even know how to teach us how to do that stuff.
To the one to think because I don't you could have disdain for people, but I mean, it's just sad when you think about it because
Disappointing.
it's like you just you kinda shit on everything when you're like that, like, because you raised kids and you taught some of them that too, and
Yeah.
it's just sad. I mean, my parents were the worst. I mean, the worst that some people could probably have, and I'm sure there's stories that are worse. But I mean, it's in part you can how do I put this? So I guess you kind of got to see it first, and I
Mhm.
don't think that they had the opportunity to really see it first, right? They just kind of crashed down on whatever's easier and money's king. Uh,
Yeah.
And there's still I'm not even saying, because I hate whenever it sounds like this, but, like, I'm not just crashing on boomers. It's like this is a mindset, but it's primarily in boomers.
Right.
Where it
You know what I
started.
mean?
Yeah, they're the
Um,
ones that started. I will say I don't wanna say I had bad parents. I had good parents. I really did, but their number one thing was to, like, put your trust in the system. Rely on the system will bring you up out of it, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, my parents also are Christian and taught me to have faith in God and stuff, but it was really just the system will work for you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
yeah,
Um, it was all about the system, and that's kind of the problem. The boomers created the system and then told everybody else, "Oh, don't worry, it'll work out for you." And it won't work out for us. You
And it's
guys
not
milk that
even.
system for everything it's worth, and you rob Peter to pay Paul every time something happened to protect your own interest, and now you bankrupted the next generations to come.
Yep.
yeah, yeah, and it just the fourth turning is what it is, and,
Yep.
for whatever it's worth, I'm here for it. Like, I mean, I don't it is what it is, and I think it's gonna create another generation of extremely strong, viable men.
Yep.
I just
Yep.
think they're gonna be thinned out, because that's
Yep.
the problem whenever this happens, is that, like, we're not gonna be large scale, uh, as it should be, right? Like, if you can imagine, the smallest percentage of people are actually gonna be the ones that can overcome and thrive in this,
Mhm.
but
Right.
it starts with a mindset. You have to want it, and, that's the problem, is it just most people don't want it.
Yeah, I can tell you in the future. Now, I don't know if this is near future, distant future, but yes, the cities and suburbs are going to die out. I think the people in the country and semi-rural are going to be fine. These are the people that know how to hunt, they know how to fish. They can grow something. They have a little bit of self sustainability, and they have people around them that they know and trust and rely on. People in the cities, they don't know their neighbor. Nobody trusts each other. Everybody's scared of each other. Nobody knows how to do anything for themselves.
Mhm.
So if you live in a city or a suburb, I'm sorry, man. Like you're not gonna make it. And whether that's 10 years from now or 100 years from now, or 50 years from now, that day is coming, you
Yeah,
know?
that
Yeah, I mean, and there's off ramps for everybody. That's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're there, right? Like, if you're there, there's always ways that you can change some stuff about whatever it is that you're doing, because it's not all like, get on board or you're fucked, right? Like, I don't mean it. I don't want it to sound like that, but, like, there's again, the system is for some people, and
Mhm.
that can be good or bad for whatever reason, but there's off ramps for everybody. Like here, I'll give you an example. Is that, like, when I went to buy my land, I bought my house in cash and I bought my land in cash, and I came from nothing, right? And I mean nothing. Like, to me, these are all giant miracles. I only play a small part. This comes from God. I don't have any control.
I
Like, I'm
just
not like
I just
I'm
do
out
what
here.
I'm supposed to do, and
I
God
do what I'm
supports
supposed
me.
to
Yep.
do. I
Yeah.
do what I'm supposed to do. Whatever the next right thing is, I just keep doing that, and opportunities start to pop up. And
I
all you
love
got to
that
do is
phrase.
just not
Love
be
that phrase.
afraid to crush these opportunities out of the park. And I'm
Yep.
not, I mean, and it's never just like you did it. It means you're still working on it, right? Like,
Yeah,
at least
there's
for
another
me.
step. There's no "I'm finished." It's, "Okay, I did this thing," and, like, one of my favorite phrases is just continue to do the next right thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's really just that simple. If you
Yep.
do one good thing, one right thing, then do the next right thing, and
Yeah.
then the next right thing, and then so on and so forth. And
Yep.
before you know it, you're where you started is fucking 50 miles behind you.
Yeah.
And you won't know that person that you used to be either. I can tell you that from fucking experience. Like, you won't know who that used to be. Once that path this is what I mean by off ramps, is that, like, once you start making these decisions, it's like you just it becomes
Becomes your own it's your new normal. You're just used
yeah,
to making those.
yeah, I guess that's probably a better way to say it than what I thought what I was trying to think of, but yeah, like, because it just becomes habit. So, like,
Mhm.
some people can't not lie, right?
That's true.
And I those people I really have a disdain for, because, like, if I can't trust you with little shit, I can't trust you with big
With
shit,
anything,
I
yep.
Yep.
can't trust you at all. But, like, they started by lying.
Yep.
right? Like they told the first lie, and then they told the
Total
second
lie.
lie, and the third
Yep.
lie, and the fourth lie. And it's the same thing when you go in the other direction. Take the off ramp and just keep doing the next right thing.
Yeah.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should on a lot of things. And like that, when in my experience anyway, I can tell you, man, like it's I have lived two completely different lives, and I can tell you which one works and which one doesn't. And I'm telling you that, like, doing the next right thing on whatever scale that is for you, it doesn't matter. Even if all it is just don't lie. You know how hard that is for some people to just not
Some
lie?
people hey, that was, like, one of the first things I had to, like, get out of myself when I moved out of my childhood home and, like, was on my own. Like, there's no like, legitimately, there's no reason to lie anymore, right? Like, as a child, sometimes you lie for just the creativeness, and then there's other people, as children, you lie for safety. I was a lie for safety kid. And, like, being a 19-year-old out on my own, like, I don't there's nobody to have to lie to, so let's learn how to not do that.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, but again, like, that's what I'm always trying to relay this message is that, like, I'm only trying to show what I did and
Mhm.
not put expectations on anybody else.
No,
I'm
but if
just telling
people
you that you can.
yep,
I
if
I
people
was gonna
think
say this, let me say it real quick. So,
yeah,
when I
Yeah.
went to go buy my land, it's not like it's a lot. We have a few acres, you know what I mean? But, like, it's in a good spot. We can parcel out some more pieces, right? So, like, as time goes on, maybe we expand more, we do more things, but we have enough to do whatever we need to do on the scale that we're working at now. We just kinda gotta develop it. But when I went to go buy it, I had a family member, an aunt of mine, that was like, "Why are you buying land? What are you gonna do with that?" Almost like you should save, because the big thing is, again, going back to the boomers, is save your money.
yeah,
And
Or
I'm
invest
like,
it. Yeah.
Listen, if I put 20 grand in the bank right now and I wait 50 years, it's not gonna be worth what it was
Of
when I
this
could
today.
right,
have invested it in something."
Yeah.
Uh, and, like, that's the difference in some of the mindset, is that, like, like, it's not this is a completely different paradigm now than it used to be. And so, like, I think for me anyway, I had to start there. Like, I'm not gonna be able to do what you did, where, like, whatever that may or may not be. This is a
right.
different world now. Things are different, and you have to do things differently. You're just gonna have to learn to survive on it.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I think the biggest thing is self-sufficiency. Once you can say that, you don't need the
Mhm.
system kinda needs you to participate, right?
Yeah.
Then you're kinda starting to break free, and you can kinda be free of a lot of things.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You can pick and choose the parts of the system you want to participate in and the parts you don't. And, the
Right.
part
You
that
need a
work out for
cheap
you at the end.
Chinese knockoff thing from fucking Temu, if that's ever gonna be a thing again. Uh, like, you can choose to buy that, but I mean, like, you could also not.
Right.
And, if
Oh,
you
as far as the Temu thing goes, don't worry. Amazon has a new feature. It's called Amazon Haul, HAUL, and it's basically their version of Temu. My
fun.
$20 Amazon Haul package showed up today.
What do you get in a haul package?
It's honestly, it's very similar. Did you ever use Wish.com? Where
Probably
it
back,
was
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it was like the
yeah.
predecessor to Temu, where you just find, like, the cheap Chinese made shit, that you're like, "I don't necessarily have to have this, but for a dollar," you know? I got, some, like, silicone, toothbrush holders to replace the glass jars that I've had sitting on our bathroom counter space, because Tom and I have a vanity in our bathroom, and I'm just like, "It's too much square footage, like, too much space is being taken up by these glass jars that hold our toothbrushes. If I could just put them up somewhere." So, like, I spent $1 on a 4-pack of those, and then I got some, fancy headscarves for church, and a couple of notebooks, for Hadley's doodles. Um, but, I coulda gone to the thrift store and found all of it for the same $20 instead of giving it to the Amazon haul, but, they got me with the advertisement,
Yeah.
and I haven't done
I
anything like
can
that in
tell
a
you
while.
that, like, I take advantage of Amazon on a regular basis too, just because of, convenience. Like, if I
Yeah.
can push a button instead of driving an hour to the store and back.
And wandering around all the people and the cashiers and all that, so I
Like,
click the
yeah.
Amazon
Like, bro,
button.
I just bought a new suit on Amazon. There's
No
companies out
shit.
there. Yeah. There's companies out there that sell on Amazon. You just send them your measurements and they'll send you a suit that fits.
I
Yeah.
know that. I mean, but I can't even tell you when I would wear a suit.
Yeah. I wear suits to
When you
church all
run
the
for
time.
office, you'll
Yeah.
need one.
Well, you know what's funny about that? I don't know if I mentioned this at all ever, but, my neighbors that are around here, there's an older guy who used to work for the borough, and he thinks I should run for city council they have another election in like 18 months. That might actually be a thing. I don't know.
You
Good.
should do it. You
You
should
should.
definitely do it.
Yeah, we just had our local elections. They did them April 1st, and we had a pro transformer pediatrician decide that she was going to run in little nine church town of God fearing Christians, and then is mad at all of us, and we're all bigots because we didn't want her indoctrination coming into the school system, and we all ganged up on her and chose the conservatives over progress.
Yeah.
And like her and all of her supporters, I won't slander them like I have been, but all of her supporters um, are just making life hard for the locals who are saying, like, no, not our children. Take that somewhere else. Go try this in one of the bigger cities. They'll let you do it, but not here.
Right.
We've worked
Yeah.
too hard. We've worked too hard for the prestige that we have, and we make sure that our children have good childhoods. We don't need them. We don't need the children's innocence stolen by some, you know, government indoctrination program any more than we're already legally required to provide.
Yeah. One thing I do want to touch back on though. I 100% agree with you that you need to take your off ramps when you get the opportunity. But like honestly, one of those off ramps has to eventually be get out of the city. You
Yeah.
know, even if you live in a city, even if you have a rooftop vegetable garden or whatever you can manage, you'll never be able to protect those resources if shit hits the fan.
That's the other side of it.
So, I mean, I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
My mindset is that sure, if an apocalyptic event, if I could talk right, would happen, yeah, sure, cities are you're kinda screwed.
Yeah.
Like,
It doesn't have
you're
to be
just
an
asking for it.
apocalyptic event though, man. Like even if the economy goes down to a certain point, you know what I mean? And people start getting hungry and they can't afford food and you've got something, you know what I mean? Like they'll kill
Well,
you for it.
so
Yeah.
as far as like, yes, that's exactly what I mean when I describe it because it will be apocalyptic. Like
Yeah.
if you get people that are starving, desperate people do desperate things. They will eat each other when it comes down to it. And
Yeah.
when you have a whole group of them, the bigger group always wins, right? So I
Mhm.
mean, like, and for whatever scale, whether it's a comet falling out of the sky or just there's no food left,
Or the
you're going to
power
get the
goes
same
out.
results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to get the same results. But I mean, yeah, the city is going to be a bad place if anything like that happens. The problem, like I said before, though, is that these people don't want to put in the work. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, well, that's what
It-
I'm saying. But like, if you are a person that's willing to put in the work, and no, I live in a city, but I'll put in the work, and I'll have a vegetable garden, a rooftop garden, or whatever. Like, go do that somewhere else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Get out of
yeah,
the city and go do that somewhere else because you'll never be able to hold on to that resource. The economy takes a downturn, and unemployment in the city hits 25%. That's all it would take. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
that's all it would take for people to start turning on each other and literally eating their neighbors. You know? It doesn't have to be a massive thing. A recession could be enough to trigger it in some areas, you know?
So during the Great Depression, the white-tailed deer were almost made extinct
Yep.
Yeah.
because because people started to leave the cities, run out into the woods, and try to get their own food.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that type of event is large scale. It's largely isolated and starting in the cities because of the the amount of people that are there.
Yep.
Um, yeah, getting out of
And
the
the lack
cities
of
would be a
space.
great start.
Yeah.
Uh,
The other
but
problem
I
with
mean,
cities is lack of space to do anything self-sufficient, to grow your own food, to have your own chickens, to you know what I mean? Like, if the
yeah,
Great Depression hits to people that live in a country to have a couple chickens, you can survive off of their eggs.
Well,
You
yeah,
know, it's like
and
yeah,
even in the Great Depression, there were people in rural areas whose lives virtually changed to 0%.
right.
Like
yeah,
if I think back to, the stories I heard of my great grandparents who had a little farm in Terraton, Idaho. Not that like, oh, we don't know what the Great Depression was, but like they weren't freaking worried about it. It didn't affect them. They were already poor, like
Yep.
they were already living on their own means, taking care of their own gardens, working with the rancher down the road. My grandfather was a shepherd and he became a shepherd because that's what my grandmother's father did. So he just took over, the family trade basically. So like he was shepherding sheep the whole time as a youth And like that, there's people who in that situation didn't know about it because they were so far removed from relying on the system. So, and as much as we don't want to think that that can happen again, it's a reality that happened before and nothing new under the sun. Good people. It's better to be prepared and be on the offensive than it is to try to play defense in the moment.
Yeah. I seen a guy comment one time on a video that was just recently where he said, this is when the tariffs thing was about to start, and, he said it kinda, like it made my head shake so much, I felt like I was gonna get whiplash. He said, uh, well, how do you say it? Sophisticated people buy I'm sorry, I'm gonna screw it up, but he was trying to
By the dip.
insinuate that when stuff like this happens, that sophisticated people will buy into the markets and simple people will can food.
Right.
And I'm
Yes, I
like,
saw that.
Yep.
I
"Did you
saw
see
that.
that?"
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
And I'm just like,
sophisticated people buy the dip, and idiots can food. Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah, yeah, thank you." But I'm like, that's the most I don't like how where do
Ass
you even
backwards
start? That's the type of
ignorant.
mindset that I try to that's what I'm saying. Those people, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't make them change that mindset even while they're starving. They're going to be like, "Yeah, but I have a pile of cash." You can't eat that.
Yeah, you
Okay?
can't eat
Like
that.
and if you can't like if you don't have readily accessible food, that
Who
doesn't
cares
help you.
who cares how
But
much
like
money you have?
you're not smart enough to realize that like your
Right.
comforts we live better now than most people ever have as far as comfort, convenience, and luxury, and it's not permanent. So,
Yeah.
like, you don't great do what you need to do and, like, great and everything, but, like, the money won't save you, you fucking
Yeah.
retard.
Yeah. When there's no food to buy, who cares how much money you have? You know.
Well, I mean, and then there's the other aspect of it too is that, like, and this is one of the examples I often use is, like, especially whenever I was explaining about the money I spent on the land, is that it doesn't matter how much money you have, it matters what it can buy. So, like,
Right.
Mhm.
if things get super expensive, $1,000,000 doesn't go quite as far, you know what I
Nope.
mean? That you were kind of
Yep.
just your whoopee of your bank account that makes you feel better. Well, when you can't buy certain things or the things that you do wanna buy are gonna quickly diminish this whoopee you have, then, like, you're gonna be like you're just not thinking. You're not thinking. What you're thinking is that you're gonna be able to take this pile of cash or take your debit card and be able to go to some place and buy whatever you want, whenever you want, and that may or may not be the reality, but you can't think like that because you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was like post World War One Germany, where you could have a wheelbarrow full of cash and might as well burn it because it was cheaper than buying logs to burn in your wood in your stove. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep, yep. It happened
it
in
was yeah, it was
Venezuela.
yeah,
Same
yeah, when the
thing.
money becomes worthless, it's like, yeah, who cares how much you have, bud? Or even if the money's not worthless. Okay, cool. So you've got $1 million, but there's no supermarkets with food with 100 miles of you. What good is that now?
I again, I hate to make it sound like I got it all figured out, but what I do know is that's retarded. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
Yes, that's
it's just
legitimately retarded.
I get that, like, money is a thing, and it's a reality where you
It's a
have to
tool.
have it to do certain things, and, like,
yep,
that's obvious. But you can't bank on the idea that, like, that's gonna save you in every circumstance imaginable because it
right.
it won't. And, like, when you try to shit on other people that are doing something that is, like, what people have always done,
Mhm.
right? Like, people always have preserved food. People have always canned food or something along those lines for the worst case scenario so that, like, you could eat later.
Yeah.
Or I mean, so
Or just so you have something, vegetables in the wintertime. Because back in the day, you couldn't, and we're going to be coming to a day again soon, at some point. I don't know about soon, but at some point where you can't get those vegetables from South America in the wintertime. And you're going to need to can some things so that you have something to eat. You can get those certain vitamins and nutrients from the vegetables.
yeah. And that's exactly the point I was gonna make is that we were talking about, humans are seasonal, food is seasonal, it's regional. And the idea behind canning stuff is because, oh, in the summertime, I've got, not necessarily a quarter acre of carrots that I'm growing, but like some people grow a quarter acre of carrots, and you can't eat a freaking quarter acre of carrots in the summertime. Like that's all you'd be eating. So what are you gonna do with the excess? Are you gonna give it to your neighbors, or are you gonna process it and have it for the wintertime when you want, I don't know, potatoes and carrots and a roast?
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
it's a mixture of lack of creative thinking and also that inability to think linearly, to see things in steps and realize that like I can't get here if I don't start here. And I'm not quite sure what it is that I know that it's been beaten out of people. I know that it's been beaten out of them in the public schoolhouse. I know that it's been beaten out of them with the media and the movies and the news people and everything else. But like you gotta find that again. If you don't have that, like, you gotta figure out how to put it in there, man. Because that's the biggest game changer is being able to see that, if I start here and I keep moving, I will eventually get somewhere. But a lot of people are fine just, like, standing in the same spot, being like, "Hmm, okay."
Yeah, and there's also just that people have all we've everybody alive right now pretty much has grown up in a world where you always go to the supermarket, you buy your food, it's never not been there. And people just don't want to believe that there will come a day where that's not going to always be the norm. You know? It's like, no, my whole
Well,
life this has always been a thing. So this is going to continue to be a thing forever. You know?
it's the possibility, and that's where I'm at. Like, and if that was the only thing, maybe I wouldn't be so invested in it. But not it's possible, it's likely, and the food is poisoned.
Yeah, I was just about to say the most important
So
thing right now is not whether or not you can buy it, it's whether or not you should buy it. You know?
and so, like, when you start putting all that together, it's sorta like, okay, this is gonna be some hard work, but, like, especially if you have kids like how I do, and, like, you want a better future for them, it's to me, it's just evident that, like, you can see what would give your kids a better leg up, right? And
Mhm.
it would be like being able to do hard work because
Yep.
that's like just being able to do the work is something on a massive scale because there's just so many people that not only don't they want to, but they just physically can't. They're just not
Physically can't,
capable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
They don't have it in them to see the task through, to keep digging the hole even though your arms hurt. Like, you gotta finish digging this row, kid. You gotta keep going.
Yeah, there's a guy online that everybody's heard me talk about. Caleb from the Catholic Pipe Company. He makes all the pipes I got over here. The man, he homeschools his kids. He's got multiple kids. He homeschools his kids. He homesteads similar to you. He's got animals and patches of fruit and vegetables, and then he makes the pipes for a living. But also, he's got his 7-year-old daughter and his 13-year-old son in the shop with him making pipe. And these kids make some amazing pipes. Like he just sold one on his website for like $400. Like these kids, 7-year-old kids are learning a skilled trade. They're also learning self-sufficient farmstead. You know what I mean? And they're not getting poisoned in public schools. I really admire that guy for that. Very much like I admire you for the way you raise your kids, Stacks. I'll be honest with you. Like I admire you very much for the things that you do and how you're teaching your kids that way of life.
This is the
Those are kind of people that we should be looking up to,
Yeah.
you know?
This
Not
is the real generational wealth that
yeah,
we can give our children is it's the knowledge, it's giving them I guess the spirit of the boomers was they were raised by people who survived the Great Depression, so they didn't really have anything, or their parents gave them everything because their parents of the Great Depression knew what it was like to have nothing. Um, and so like that was the generational wealth for them. For us, the generational wealth is the knowledge that we have and then giving our children those skills and traits, like the hardworking, that's a trait, work ethic, that's a trait. Giving them the traits that we didn't have or that we did have and they served us well.
yeah,
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think a lot of us are starting to realize how we're supposed to be parents. What the real objective is. And that gives me hope, It gives me hope that we have at least the Stacks kids to look forward to. We have the Caleb's kids to look forward to. Like
yeah.
there's hope for the future.
Kids that grow up knowing what hard work is, and it's not even just knowing what hard work is. It's that sense of accomplishment. When kids get that sense of accomplishment at a young age, that really boosts them in life. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, it goes a long way later in life where you know what it's like to accomplish something. So you're going to keep putting in that work to keep accomplishing things. You get that. Your self worth is through the roof compared to most kids. Most kids now are depressed and anxious, and they have no sense of self worth at all. Your kids aren't going to grow up with that. It's
The cog in the wheel thing is real. Like, like, and there's a lot of people that easily got caught up being that cog in the wheel and they get comfortable there. So they stay there because,
Mhm.
they're kind of, provided for and they're not, their mind doesn't deviate outside of that context. Like they just that's what they do.
They're the fish in the
Um,
water. They don't notice the water.
they don't even know they're wet.
Yeah.
uh, but I mean, it's I guess how I can't the point that I can't stress enough is that I don't do any of this for me. This has nothing to do with me. This is for the future. This is for my kids and for other people and other people's kids. And like just to see it that it's like something has to change.
Mhm.
Something has to fucking change. Like this path that we're on is, as a whole, as society, as a country, as a world, we're like we look up to Big Daddy government to be handed everything, and you ask for permission to do everything, and you can't do anything without a license of some kind or a
Permission
degree of
slip.
some other
Mhm.
kind, and you're not capable of this, and like I mentioned before, is that like how many people told me I couldn't? I
Right.
mean, I can't tell you how many people told me I could or the look of, like, me trying to explain to somebody what I was gonna try to do, and they'd be like it's the look of, like, not
How?
only why, but what like, "What is wrong with you?" and, like,
Right.
"You can't do that." It happens, you know what I mean? So, like, I want people to keep doing that. Like, if you think go ahead, because it fuels me. Like, that's what I like, tell me I can't do it, I'll show you that I can do it, especially if I want to. Like, you know what
And
I mean?
not
Just
only
keep
can
telling me.
I do it, you could do it too. Somebody else
Exactly.
can do it.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
my
Yeah, the thing about that I appreciate most about you sharing your stories and doing the YouTube channel and all that stuff is not only is it good for the children to have that to look back on and be like, "Man, look at all this cool stuff Dad did when we were little. Look at all the you remember how we helped him do that stuff? That's crazy." But also it gives, who knows, maybe there's some dude who's in the plumbers union who's just stressing about life and he's like, "Man, I don't know if I could ever do this." And then he stumbles upon your channel and sees like, "Oh, yeah, it is kinda just like any other project,
If
you
an
have to
electrician
start
can do it,
somewhere.
anybody can do it.
It's like
Yeah,
any other
yeah.
it's like any other project, you just have to start it, and then as you go along, you figure out what the next right choice is, what's the next step, what's the next thing to do. Okay, I figured out how to keep 8 chickens alive. Let me, add a rooster, for
Yeah.
Rom life, let me add a rooster so that way the hawks don't get them. And then, like you're trying to do 100 chickens, you grow into these
Right. Let
things.
me get some goats,
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe after you get used to raising a goat, you want to get a couple sheep and then raise lambs for food. Lambs, like,
exactly
that's
what
good.
that's like, so we got just for context is that, like, so we have this land, but it's raw land. Like, so, like, I'm clearing it as we go. I'll try to clear, say, a quarter acre or a half an acre every season or so. And, like, as we go, we create more pasture.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is not I can't like the old videos. They may not because I was new to it, but like you can see some of the context. I didn't stress it enough. Like some of these areas you couldn't even walk through. Like that's how thick it was,
Yeah.
and it's overgrown with like poison ivy and what were
Goats will eat it.
Goats will definitely eat it.
well, that's the point, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
like, that's in part why I started with them because you said sheep. I did wanna start with sheep for that reason, but then I was like, "Well, we can get a 2 for 1 out of these goats." Like,
Yeah.
they can take care of some of this back work, I can just tie them up and let them go. And
Mhm.
then, and then in the future, they can provide because part of that is that I'm the kind of guy, I'm very utilitarian. Like if I can find reasons more than one for the expenditure, I'm on it, right? Like so we're gonna get them to have kids and sell the kids, the baby goats, and we're
Yeah.
gonna milk them so that we can make cheese and sell goat milk. And we're also gonna have them go eat all the shit instead of me cutting it down.
Yep.
So I mean, like when you start adding all that up, you're actually probably saving money on a few $100 that you might spend on a goat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But real quick, I wanted to say, like, when you said that about the plumber, real quick, the true story is that there's a young plumber dude that I was working with that I was having these conversations with, and he was asking me things, and I would like, he didn't want to have kids. He was worried about his future. And after working with me for about 4 or 5 months, he got his girl knocked up because I just kept saying, just do it. Just
Yeah.
do it, dude. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, no, he's like, but I'm not ready. Nobody's ready.
Nobody's
Nobody's ever
Nobody's
ever
ready.
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 Yeah.
There's
You're
not,
never
you're
ready.
never going to reach the point where you're going to be like, okay, now we're ready. You just do it and make it work, bro. Like, and then like I don't have a house yet. Well, you'll get one when you
You'll get
realize you're
one.
out of space.
Yep.
Start, let's get this done. And I'm like, listen, the birth rate is low. Here's what happens whenever it's low, because statistically, if you're not climbing, you're dropping. And I'm like,
Mhm.
there's not enough kids. We need you in the game. Go
Yeah.
Right.
home, make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Go make
And he
some
did.
meaningful
He
plumbers.
he
Yeah.
did. Before I left the job, he did. And I mean, so like these are real world examples of like what you can do when you're
Yeah.
just say and do, or and the problem is that I don't see myself as somebody that should be an example, because like my
Mhm.
past is fucking crazy. And like, like I was not great. And like, I don't want to see myself as like that example. I just want to be able to say like, if a retired scumbag like me can do it,
If I
you
can
can do
turn
it.
it around, yeah.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can do that too. Like you can
Yeah,
do all that shit. And I'm telling you it's possible, especially
yeah,
if you start early. Like you can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
yeah.
And
And even if
that's
you don't,
what I want. Before I forgot, when you said plumber, it made me think of this one young
yeah,
kid, and that's exactly what happened.
well,
yeah.
good
But
for him.
also, even if you don't start early, it's not too late.
Yeah,
It's
it's
never too
definitely
late to
not.
do something to change. You know what I mean? It's never too late to do something to be a little less reliant on a system. It's never too late to start that family. It's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't,
I mean,
even if you missed the boat when you were young, just doesn't matter. Start now.
yep.
You
Yep.
can do it.
100%.
Uh, all right. Do we want to talk about the dire wolf situation and chimeras and CRISPR? You want to do that?
Yeah, we can break. I'm sure people will be interested in hearing about that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous that they're even doing this. And I'll let you make your point. What you were saying earlier. Whereas if they've given us this,
The dire wolves, right?
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Right. 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 So the second that I seen it, I said to myself, "This is a sales tactic. Like this is a soft rollout, because it's just for me. Stuff like this is painfully obvious, and it just drives me nuts whenever I'm like, I explain it, and it's like, people still don't get it. Because if you don't see it originally, I get it, but like if
And
I sit there and explain it, I think you should be able to pick it
and
up.
you
But
should, yeah, you should get it. It should make sense
they
to you.
are soft rolling monsters. So like
mhm,
they
yeah,
whatever these dire wolves are, because people like dogs, right? Like this is how they present to you the monster that's going to come later that they already made. Like
yeah.
they look at the cute little puppies that we made, that comes from a dire wolves that come from what movie was, or show was that
Game of
Game of
um
Thrones.
Thrones. Game
yeah,
of
thank you.
Thrones.
So,
Yeah,
look, everyone loves Game of Thrones, and like these are the dogs that they had, and everybody likes dogs. Well, I'm here to tell you that like they made something horrendous before this that you might see later. And like
yeah,
they've had this technology for a little while. It's CRISPR, and I'm telling you that like this is just for you to accept that they're doing it.
right.
Yeah, this is the most palatable way we can present this to you, without you guys freaking out and thinking of the monsters that we already have made.
Yeah, and
We'll
then
sell enough
also
of you puppies.
they always give you like with the names of them, Romulus and Remus. The brothers that founded Rome. Like there's always an underlying hint at we're up to no good kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not by mistake when you see like the old. There's some kind of reference to something biblical or old. It's always played into it, because these are the types of things I think that they've probably always been capable of. Like at some point, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And my theory is that in part the reason why the earth was flooded is because they were probably making chimeras. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean? Like they talk about these horrendous things, like, and you see the hieroglyphs in Egypt with people with like animal heads, and you know there's precedent for stuff like this. Like there's like and they say that like in however you fall on this, I don't know, but it's just a theory. But they say that like the fallen angels and the Nephilim were teaching people this, and they were doing this, and in part this was the filth that God was trying to get rid of. And
Mhm.
like we're kind of, in my opinion, that maybe it went away for a while, or maybe it just wasn't in the open for a while. They didn't have the technology to do it again for a while. They've been probably trying to figure out how to manipulate things again.
Yep.
But I mean, they're doing it now, and
yeah,
I
Well, if we
believe that in the ancient past they probably had some kind of tech to do it then as well.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and
So
if we think about it in a biblical context, you have the Tower of Babel, and then you get Noah,
yeah.
right? Like they
Also,
already did the thing to try to get to God, and he said, "Let's
yeah,
confuse your
they
speech."
built this giant building, which could have been equivalent to like the World Trade Centers or bigger. Like people want to think that the people during the time of Noah, during the flood, were the same people that were living like during Abraham's time or during like the time of Jesus. It was at that level of society. Whereas like there's nothing in the Bible that says that.
No,
You know what I mean?
nothing.
There's nothing wrong with speculating that this could have been a far more advanced society than we are now. And God's like, nope. You
Look
know
at
what I
that.
mean? Like enough is enough. You
You're
guys
trying
have
to do my
gotten
job here.
Yeah, you've gotten this information that you weren't supposed to have from most likely the
Okay,
fallen
no, okay.
angels or whatever you want to call them, demons. But either way, like there's nothing in the Bible that states that these were like a lower level. You know what I mean? Nothing says these were people of an ancient technology.
I
Um,
mean, what I'll add to it is that I'm not 1,000% on whatever the timeline may be biblically, but
right,
there's obvious there has been
Disconnect.
apocalyptic, I don't know why I can't say that word today,
Yeah.
apocalyptic events in Earth's history, right? So, uh, there's no telling what things were of the past and at what point that they were there. You know what I
Mhm.
right,
mean? So, my point of saying that is that I there's something that's happening that's probably not brand new because there's nothing new under the sun, right?
right,
So,
Yeah.
I mean, on some that like when people refer to it as as an advanced uh, culture from the past, maybe they didn't have big screen TVs, right? But like that doesn't mean that they couldn't do some kind of experiments on people to manipulate people, right?
right.
I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
and you can see some traces of certain things in the genetic genome of people is that there's unexplained things there. You know, like there, and that you don't know what you can contribute that to. You know, it could be anything. It could be a manipulation of people. It could be a lot of different things. But what I'm saying is that there's room to speculate. So I mean, you know, but the
Yeah,
point being is that they're making them now.
Mhm.
yeah,
So I mean, you know, it's probably not God's will that they are,
Yeah.
which
yeah,
inherently makes it bad, in my
yeah.
opinion anyway.
I tend to believe that like these huge stone structures, the pyramids, and not even in Egypt, not even just in Egypt, but all over the world, and some of these other huge megalithic things that we couldn't even build today, and we have no idea how they did it. Um, I tend to think that these structures are from of the pre-flood society. A huge structure like the like pyramids and some of these huge mega stone structures, they would survive the flood. Like they would, you know what I mean? Like
They'd be
they,
fine.
they all have huge signs of water erosion. I can tell you that. You know what I
Have you
mean?
seen
Like
them?
yeah, like the Sphinx, the pyramids, these are all show signs of water erosion, not sand and wind erosion. So I tend to think that these are from the advanced society that was pre-flood. Um, and how advanced that society was, I don't know. Did they have flying cars and big screen TVs? Who knows? Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they had a different type of technology that made them
Exactly.
more advanced than us. But like, if we can't build these structures, and then also they had the forethought to know, like our civilization as it stands, these mega huge skyscrapers that we have and all, like without us maintaining them, they'd be gone in 50 to 100 years. They'd be right back into the earth. They're rusted away and to nothing. That's why I think they built these
That
huge
they
yeah, that's why I think they built these huge stone structures out of granite and mega stones, knowing that these will go on, for thousands of years. Even after we're gone, they will still be standing for 100,000 years.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of I mean, again, you know, it's all pure speculation, but
Right.
there's a lot of evidence that there was a lot of structures here, before America was founded that were, you know, monumental, like how the Capitol buildings look. Like, you know, what was it? The World's Fair that they supposedly
Mhm.
they built all these things and then just burnt them down. And then there was all these fires in all these cities around the same 50 years or something like that that kind of wiped out the history of the place. Again, there's room for speculation, but my point is that like there's a good chance that what we think of as history and they talk about pre-Adamites too, right? Like, I mean, that's in
Right.
the Bible too. So, I mean, there were people before. What were they? What they did? How they did it? You know, uh, it's kind of up in the air because there's not a lot of evidence either way. But I mean, like, you can kind of see that it's possible, if not likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I can guess and speculate. I don't try to claim anything as fact. I don't know any of this stuff, but it is worth thinking about. It is like, I- how far did we get before we got struck down, and where was a lot of the stuff that we see today older than I know a lot of it is older than they tell us it is. That's a fact. There's just so much stuff that they say, oh, this is 4,000 years old. I'm like, bullshit, that's 4,000 years old. That's like, that's a lot older than that. Um,
Again, I I have no evidence to present. But I
Yeah.
mean, there is, I mean, I just think that there's enough to say, is it possible, right?
And if
Um,
I think the bigger takeaway is yes, it's an enjoyable thought experiment, to just kind of speculate on these things. But the bigger realization is that if in today, in 2025, all the things that we are lied to and misled about, they didn't just start doing it today, right? Today isn't their first lie they've ever told. And back in 2020, that wasn't the first lie they ever told. And back in 1999, that wasn't the first lie they ever told, right? Like these are not that they're professional liars, but whatever is being done it's a conscious systemic effort to just confuse us and keep us not having all of the information. So then it falls on us to sit back and be like, okay, well, if everything's a lie, what can I do? What can like this whole conversation? What's my on off ramp? What are things that I can do to remove myself from this lying system? What can I do to be less deceived? And that's, I think that that's like the biggest journey of life.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, my big thing on that though is, I mean, I don't want to speculate too much on how much they lied and what they're lying about, and it's like the big thing is you put your faith and your trust in God, to be honest with you, and
yep.
and and you live a good life and you worship God and you do your thing, and like you said, you just try to find your way to separate yourself from the society as much as you can, and you go from there.
Discernment is key, right? Like, I mean, because even COVID was a thing that, like, if you can't think through that about what happened, even in the moment, it was crazy, right? So
Mhm.
being manipulated through it, you can kind of get, but the way I started to just try to nudge people when they would ask me about it, because that was very, there were people that were, they're masked, they have 15 on their head. And then there's other people that'll go around licking doorknobs because they don't fucking care
Oh
and
my
they don't,
goodness, yeah.
like they just think that it's completely fake. I mean, I'm not on either end of the scale, but what I used to always refer back to is that these people are liars, right? I mean, we can
Mhm.
prove that they're liars about a lot of different things. So the
Right,
liars are probably lying again. Don't
Yes.
believe them, use discernment, and then, it'll fall in place given that you do the next right thing because you kind of know what you're doing. It's just that's kind of because we started off with saying about how they're CRISPR and genetically modifying things. And it's my firm belief is that there's something else coming from that. Like, it's not just a couple of dire wolves.
right.
No,
It's
no. I
there's
think
no
Yeah,
there's the liars are lying again. There's absolutely no chance that that's the only thing that they ever made, and the things that they probably made before that are probably horrific.
yeah, it's not some cute woolly mammoth mouse. That's not the thing.
yeah. And just to answer the chat here, because everybody's kind of hung up on this pre-Adamite stuff. I'm not saying I believe in pre-Adamite, man. I tend to follow the story of creation myself, but I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong if you believe that or if you even speculate about it. It's just, because uh I don't know. There's the early world in the Bible there's not a lot about it. You know what I mean? There's not a lot about pre-flood civilization. They just don't tell us. It's just it's out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get Adam and Eve and then a whole bunch of genealogies.
Yeah, it's so yeah, so, just because that doesn't seem to be something I tend to believe, I'm not going to tell somebody they're dumb for believing it either.
Yeah.
Um, there's plenty of people in the Catholic Church that believe in evolution, and I think that's dumb, but I'm not going to tell them they're dumb. You know what I mean?
See, the thing is like, and again, I if people have firm beliefs, I get it. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Stick to your guns and, believe what you wanna believe. I don't get dogmatic about a lot of stuff.
right.
But, like, when there's room for speculation, I just speculate. Like, I just,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna tell you that this is the way that it is on just about anything other than saying that, you can do things to make your life better because I've done them. So you
right.
know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, like, other than that, I'm not very dogmatic on a lot of things.
Yeah, I tend
And
to be
again, like I said, I mean, there's you either are going to be dogmatic and say that this is what you believe, and that's fine. And then
yeah,
you're either going to say there's room for speculation.
yeah.
So
I
you
tend to
know?
be dogmatic on the things that the church tells me are dogmatic. And to be honest with you, the creation story is not one of those things the church tells you have to be dogmatic on. You can believe in young earth creation, you can believe in evolution, you can believe in things in between because the Bible doesn't really
There's no
there's no
clear.
there's no clear answer to it. So I tend to believe in Adam and Eve as the first people, but if you don't, that's also you're right. Because there isn't a clear answer in the Bible. So I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I just wanted to get that point because it seemed like some people were kind of like, oh, wait, and I'm like,
I get it. I get
yeah,
it. Yeah.
because kind of be clear, like, you can believe in this. There's nothing in the Bible that tells you you can't technically, and there's nothing in the Catholic Church or that tells you you can't. So, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and say I know better if the church of 2,000 years doesn't know either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
Right,
haven't
and, like,
singled in on it.
if we had concrete evidence,
Yeah.
about how things went, I think, things would probably even be a lot better because there wouldn't have to be this speculation on where things started and how they
Mhm.
went and what we're doing
Yeah.
now. I mean, look at where we are now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
guys wanna be girls, girls wanna be guys, there's people wearing fucking furry suits and getting hammered behind a fucking dumpster. It's like,
Yep.
dude, I mean, if all in the big scheme, speculating about other possibilities pre-biblical or whatever isn't really that big of a deal,
Right.
just saying that, like, I think there might be something we don't know.
Right, exactly. No, and I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with speculating on maybe this happened, maybe it didn't. I don't know because yeah, we don't have the concrete answers and we never will.
What if
Uh
what if CRISPR lets the furries actually become
that's a real
chimeras?
possibility. The CRISPR may actually allow people to become, oh, you want to be a trans dog? You want to be a trans cat? You want to be a trans whatever? Like, yeah.
Holy shit, you're right.
I
That
hate it.
could happen.
I hate it.
Holy f I mean, think about it, right? Like, if they can tell they can tell the parents that their kids will have blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah, just let us edit these couple of genes. They're already doing that kind
Yeah,
of
they are
stuff,
doing that.
which
Chinese have
is
already gotten busted doing that multiple times.
which I mean, hello everyone. I present to you eugenics.
Yeah,
Like that's exactly what that is. That's
yeah.
exactly what that is. Now granted, it's completely voluntary. You pay a lot of money to do it, but that's exactly what that is. And that's the I don't know why that intrusive thought came out of my mouth, but put that on the calendar for eventually. We'll actually have and they're
Light bulb
already
that turned on when you said that. I was like, "Oh god, they could." We
yeah,
could
they
actually
could.
be dealing with actual furries at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people walking around with tails and dog ears, you know what I mean, or cat
Well,
ears.
and they just had what was it, like 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, some movie on Netflix. What was it called? Sweet Tooth?
Mhm.
Sweet Tooth, is that was that the name of it? Where it was like these weird animal hybrid chimeric people that were born and like then the normal people hated them and hunted them. I never
This
watched it,
it's the
but it
X-Men
definitely
story just with furries, yes.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. We could get X-Men.
Yeah.
We could get the freaking the Beast.
Yeah. Ugh.
I don't
Yeah,
like
they're
this.
all the same story told over and over again of persecuted people because they were different and yada yada.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way they decide to present it is always that's the new thing that should tell you what they have in mind coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before it was like, ooh, people with extra with superpowers. Not only the X-Men, but what was that show Heroes or
Heroes,
whatever?
yeah.
So that was and then they kind of abandoned that and I went to the furries because it's like, oh hey, you guys want to be furries instead of superhuman strength and
Right,
moving
yeah.
things with your mind? Yeah, that's what you want. You're less dangerous to us that way.
Yep.
We'll give you that.
I mean, there is a definite, depopulation agenda, and people that are in furry suits and that have sex with their own sex typically are not gonna be able to procreate, so they get that result no matter how weird it goes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, if the end goal is to have less people to worry about, then it doesn't really matter how they get there as long as they get there.
That's how I always like to say gay people reproduce through the public school system
Oof, yes.
because they can't reproduce, so they have to take your kids and turn them into them.
Yep.
You know,
Don't
it's
say
funny
it,
thing,
dude.
real
There are
the
kids.
public school system, where, like, just to touch on because of the homeschool thing. I actually have a couple of teachers that live across the street from us, and they're really cool people. But when COVID was happening, we were talking about it, and, they're sort of they have one of their kids is immune compromised, so, like, like, they were very on edge about it, which is understandable, but they're also teachers, so, like, they have that other part of that mindset that you can attribute with that, like, they're
Mhm.
kinda leaning in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the one thing that really sealed the deal for me is how she reacted about because our kids weren't in school yet or they wouldn't have been in school yet whenever she said this to me, but she said, "All these parents are just mad because we watch their kids all day so that they can go to work, and now they can't come to school while the schools are closed, so they're just angry." And I said, "That's why I'm not gonna send my kids to school because you might not be the worst possible person, but you're exactly right because there is some terrible people that I would have to send my kids to be
Subject my
corrupted
children
that
to, yeah.
probably see my kids more than I would,
Yep.
Mhm.
right? So, like, yeah, I don't know if these weirdos are furries after dark or if, like, they wanna do weird stuff, but, like, it's about who are you sending your kids to?
Yeah.
And,
What are they
that place
teaching my kids? It's not math or reading. You know what I mean?
and you'd be surprised how much, extra you can squeeze in a whole day of actual schools into a few hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's about an hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's amazing, like, how much time is actually wasted there and doing what, though? Think about,
Yeah.
who are they
Yeah.
with, and what is all that extra time actually doing? And the other thing I said is that, the first time a kid sees violence, given that they're not in a violent home, is school.
Is that the schoolhouse?
That's the first place they see violence.
Child prison.
Yep.
Because between the kids doing whatever they do at school and anything else that's going on, the people that they're interacting with, that's the first place they come in contact with it. I'm telling you from experience,
Yep.
like,
No, I
it
hear you.
doesn't mean grade school, but I mean, as you go through the process, especially by the time you get to high school,
Oh, yeah, you're
there
gonna
it
see
is.
that shit.
I think it was sixth grade was the first time I got in a fist fight. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah,
continued on from there.
yeah,
But yeah, it's sixth grade in public school is the first place I got into a fight. And
yeah.
it continued on through a good chunk of into my late 20s, early 30s of like that's how you settle things. Um, so yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Niet.
It's
Niet, Xerox. No. No, you cannot. I don't that is a disordered thinking. That is I am not even human. I am subhuman. My parents loved the family dog more than me. That is a broken human. There's no sane, well-adjusted, good person who's a furry.
I was gonna glance over that.
And I'd fight people on that statement.
He says it's
Um
a very fine line.
well, you know what? That very fine line could be erased, right? Like you could just choose to not do that. If it's such a fine line, you could just choose to not do that, right? Like you could just choke that part of yourself out. Be like, no, no, I am a human. I have dominion over the beasts. I am not a beast. Uh, it's not. I don't agree with the fine line theory, sir. I
I
reject
just
it.
kinda lump them all in together and just say,
I do too.
you
Yeah,
know
it's the
you
it's
know, I
it's
don't need to differentiate in all kinds of different terms. It's like, you
uh,
know, yeah,
Yeah,
you're all
gay,
in that.
trans, furry, they're all in the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all disordered thinking. It's a maladaptive coping mechanism for whatever it is that your experience has brought upon you. Like you can let's just not. Let's just be normal.
Okay, I do kind of understand what he's saying here. They don't think they're animals. The ones who don't think they're animals and they just like to theater kids, basically. I don't.
Yeah. Never really met a straight theater kid though. That's also a thing. That's like it's all it's a it could be such a simple, good, true desire, right? Like just a fun little LARP. It could be, but nothing good is allowed to
I
stay
mean, there's
good.
people that
It
dress
will
up in
be
medieval
subverted.
armor and fight like they're in the in the 1600s. I get his point there that there's a fine line between dressing up like you're in a suit of armor and going to a Renaissance fair, and also
But when you have to do it and then you go subject yourself to the people who do that too, like that's a
no,
whole,
that's why I
you
said
know what
there's
I
a
mean? Like it's
very,
a
very, very fine line, and I'm not saying I am okay with it or I endorse it, but I understand his point right there. I do understand it. I don't have to agree with it to understand it.
I
Understand
went
what he's
for it.
trying to relay. I think
Yeah,
I understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
I just,
It's our
I
next slippery slope though.
yeah,
yeah, it is a slippery slope. Yes.
it's not worth the bandwidth to differentiate, right? Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, not for me anyway. Like, I think I get what he's that, you can subcategorize a lot of different weird shit, but let's just keep it in the weird shit column. And,
Right.
Right, yeah.
it's just better over there because it's weird. It is. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean,
and I'll be honest too. Anybody I've ever met that's been in the Renaissance fairs has been fucking weirdos. You know what I mean? They're all kinds
yeah,
of
I mean,
degenerate. sex parties and orgies kind of people, and like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, and it's there's a so the term LARPing too is something that gets everything is LARPing that's not being done. You LARP when you practice for basketball. You LARP when you
Mhm.
practice for baseball, right? You LARP because this is a big thing, like, in the gun community where people actually practice, like, using their guns or their rifles or their pistols in what would be considered like a gunfight, right? You would LARP that first so you get good at it. But
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
difference between practicing to be good at something and then the other thing where you're like, I'm putting on a costume to
I'm
pretend
putting
to
on
be
a
something."
costume and I'm no longer myself,
You
and
know what I
then
mean?
this meat sack can no longer be held accountable for anything that I do because it's all pretend.
yeah. It's all this character I'm playing doing this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
No,
odd
Xerox
part.
is right. It's not just a slippery slope; it's a water
Water slide,
slide.
yeah.
It's
That's a
very
good way
true,
to put it.
sir.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a good analogy. Yeah.
I guess there are exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, Netherlight was a thespian,
Yeah.
not a lesbian. Apparently, I'm a lesbian because I drive a Subaru, not a thespian.
That's okay. You're married to a woman, so it checks out.
Yeah, yeah.
Checks out.
What you'll notice when you're driving around your Subaru is all the lesbians in flannel looking to see who's driving.
Right, yeah. And then everybody asks, "Where's your German Shepherd at?"
Don't let Emily drive the car around. She might
Yeah,
get hit on.
no,
Yeah.
I don't, not that I never wanna drive the Subi, but I definitely only drive it to church, so that way they know that I'm not one of them. I'm not one of yous.
Ugh. She only had to drive it a couple days when
Yeah,
I
that's
was,
true.
in between when I had time to do the timing belt. I was like, "Don't take this out of out of town because this thing could break any day, and then we need a motor."
Yeah, I'm
So
like, I'm not trying to deal with
you
a
can use
tow
it to go
truck.
to and from church like twice this week. No more than that.
Shame is that they're actually good cars, but, there's that
Such good cars.
stigma that's attached to them.
Yeah, they're
We're
such
taking it back, though.
such good cars. But yes, there is that stigma. Men can drive them. There's nothing wrong with a man. Any woman that gets in one, though, everybody automatically thinks you're a lesbian.
Yeah.
So you can get one. You can't. Your wife can't drive it. Sorry, dear. I'm just like,
Oh, no.
who cares if it's all-wheel drive and super reliable and gets 30 miles at a gallon? You can't drive it. I don't care. You can't.
That's the hack, guys. That's how she never takes your car and runs it out of gas. Just buy a Subaru.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So
It should be a rule. No no women driving no non-lesbian women driving Subarus with a flannel on, because then
right.
you're just there at that point. Like,
Yeah,
there's gonna be no differentiation between
They're just
what
gonna
might be
assume.
happening.
yeah,
Yep.
That's the rule. No
yeah.
flannel allowed.
Yeah, you gotta have past shoulder length hair and be wearing a dress to drive a Subaru
Yeah, yeah.
if you're a
There we
woman.
go.
Yeah.
Those are acceptable terms.
Yes. Nobody's gonna believe that a woman with longer than shoulder length hair wearing a dress is a lesbian.
Yeah, that's true.
So
They don't come in that variety.
yeah, no, they don't. I don't care. I don't care what those movies told you. That's not what they look like.
Yeah, right. No.
Oh man. All right. Well, we're at about an hour and a half, so I think we're gonna wrap it up because I got to get up early in the morning. But we really appreciate you coming out and having us talk, Stacks, and we definitely want to have you back to talk about some more stuff that we didn't get to and new stuff you got coming up. So before we go, tell everybody again where they can find you and all that good stuff.
YouTube, Stacks Farmstead. Please go subscribe. I'm trying to get above that monetization mark, and I'm on X. I post a lot of short videos on X, but those are primarily the two. I'm thinking I'm gonna expand once I can get more time to doing my own shows every once in a while, maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes of me just like ranting about whatever. And as much as I don't want to do it, Instagram and TikTok are probably going to have to be on the radar. But for now, YouTube, X is where I'm at.
All right. Yeah, everybody make sure you go check out Stacks, subscribe to his channel. There's a lot of good stuff on there. But yeah, with that said, we are gonna get out of here. Emily, you'll be back on Friday.
Yes, I will be back on Friday for Morning Crew, 6:30 a.m. Central Time Zone.
All right, and then we'll be back on Sunday for our usual Sunday show. So, all right, thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. God bless all of you, and we will see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Pater noster, qui quies in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimite nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimitimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo.